This is Getting Past Subtitles. My name is Sean Peel.
And I'm DK Lee.
And welcome to week number 2 of our gambling, God of Gamblers, money throwing, money winning, losing
Some
series.
action.
Not the inevitable scaffolding scenes in like every Hong Kong film ever. No matter what genre.
You gotta have it.
You gotta have the scaffolding scene. Even if it's an American production, it's in China. It's gotta have the scaffolding scene. But yeah, we're moving on, and we are taking a wild swing back in time to the 80s and watching God of Gamblers. Came out in 1989, directed by Wong Jin. And this is new for both of us, right? We haven't seen this one. We just kind of was looking and stumbled upon this one, and yeah, it fits. I think it's a little more. It's like when I was watching it, like the backdrop of it being gambling, and like it was kind of part of it, but it wasn't as much as like focused on gambling as the previous movie we watched.
Yeah, there's definitely. I mean, the main character is basically all about gambling, right?
Yeah. That's his thing.
It's just that the movie kind of takes a turn
Yeah.
with the amnesia stuff.
Right.
And then, I mean, he still like uses his talents.
Right.
But
it's like what it's ultimately like about, kind of like the focus of it isn't like the gambling itself. It's
right.
like more about the characters and like, oh, he has amnesia, like he's got this old life, and everybody from his old life is like, where is he?
Yeah.
And then like everything kind of catches up.
But I think it's still a very fun movie to watch. I enjoyed watching it. There's a lot of, like, because of, like the way that we kind of went into the first movie that we watched. And like from that movie, I have like certain expectations of what might be like a gambling movie. And then watching this movie, it was a nice pace, a new pace.
Yeah.
And just seeing like how they play their games as well, like in comparison to the first movie that we watched.
Yeah.
I think was pretty interesting. I liked the fact that in this movie, they kind of slow things down a bit more in terms of how they present the games.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of understand what's going on a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think in the first movie in Tacha, it was a lot more fast paced.
Right.
And as it happens, you as the audience, you're sometimes not even sure like what went on exactly, like what happened.
Yeah.
Like the sleight of hand is not shown to the audience as much, whereas I feel like in this movie, you're in the loop while it's happening.
Yeah.
So you can kind of
understand the tricks that he's doing.
Yeah. And you understand those things, and I think that helps the audience to be more engaged as well.
Right.
So that was, I think, pretty cool in this movie. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same. It's a long movie.
It is.
It definitely felt like it didn't need to be 2 hours long, but it definitely felt like a good progression from the last movie to this movie. Like I said, it was kind of slower. I think it kind of drifted in focus, but like you said, it wasn't. Where in like Tacha, it was all about what was it? Haki? What's it called? Hatu.
Yeah.
It was very like specific to Hatu being a game, and here, God of Gamblers, like there's not a specific. It's mostly poker, right? But really, there's not like a specific game that
plays everything.
Yeah,
he plays dice. He plays.
It's like gambling in general.
Mahjong. He plays different. Yeah.
Right.
Gambling.
And they're all games that are like pretty well known, like dice, mainly poker, right? Mahjong. But like I said, they're really easy to understand, and also like the tricks aren't super complicated. Like,
well, they like explain it to you.
Yeah,
like even before the actual game that happens. Like, for example, like at the end when they're using the glasses.
Yeah.
Like the whole scene beforehand is like explaining literally what they're
Here's
going to
the
do.
Ink and like the dots represent this.
And so they really explain it to you like you're 5 years old.
Right.
Which is in one way it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
To kind of have that as like so that the audience can understand it.
Yeah, it's like his shtick is Like, oh, he's always one step ahead of you, basically, you know? It's not really super, super complicated. Even with, like, the rolling, like, the dice bit, it's like, she gets the perfect 6. Like, you can't beat that, man. Like, you can match it, but you can't beat it. And he does the same thing, and he just, like, breaks one dice, and it's like, technically, it's 5. So, technically,
I win.
I win. You know, but he, like, basically replicates the trick, so it's not, like, he pulls some weird card out of his pocket, you know, in that sense. But overall, it's a really enjoyable movie. I was quite surprised by the cast, actually. Like, all the big names are pretty much here for the time. And even now, they're still really, really popular. The movie definitely had to be popular at the time, too, because there's, like, 10 different sequels.
Yeah.
There's, like, 30 different spin-off movies. There's, like, a crazy amount of, like, just movies based off this.
Yeah, this movie. Yeah, there's
like,
so many other ones. I think there's like a really recent one too.
Really?
Yeah, like fairly recent one.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised anyway. But this one is hard to find because, like, on Apple TV, you can rent the second and third, as I say, but not the first. So it's like, I don't know. What?
Yeah.
But it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, then that's, I think it's my week, right? All right, let me see what I got. Let me see what I can do here. I was watching the movie, right? And then about, like, once I got to, like, the third, once there was only, like, maybe half an hour left, I was, like, just, like, sitting back and watching it or whatever. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I gotta, like, I actually need to pay attention to what's going on because I gotta write down this. And then, like, I laser focus out of nowhere. That's my experience. So we have this guy. His name is Ko Chun. And basically he's this legendary gambler and with, like, a lot of huge luck on his side, quote unquote. But Ko Chun basically has everything, right? He's got, like, the clothes, he's got the girl, he's got the slick back hair, etc., etc. You know, he's very well known within the gambling world per se. And so he plays everywhere. And he gets challenged by this guy, this Japanese guy named Tanaka, who's, like, also a big gambler, I think, like, in Japan. And so after they play, he basically swiftly beats him in, like, 2 games. And they have, like, a conversation post-game where Tanaka asks him for a favor to basically, like, challenge his adversary, which is named Cham Kamsing. And he's basically, like, the evil, like, gambler, essentially.
Yeah.
And he essentially just asked him to challenge him and play him and, like, I guess restore his, like, family or something.
Yeah, his father died because he was in a poker match with him. And then I think he killed himself after because he lost a lot of money or whatever.
Dang. So yeah, restore his family honor, essentially.
So revenge.
It's a revenge tale.
Yeah.
So he ultimately agrees, and he does it as a favor, right? And Tanaka assigns him his bodyguard named Dragon to accompany him. And so, following this, on, like, a night of gambling, Ko Chun plays against this guy named Singh, and basically he, like, clears out his table, right? He, like, wins millions of dollars, and Singh tries to, like, set him up by, you know, stopping his car and, like, taking the check back and disposing of the evidence, right? But Ko, being always one step ahead of things, pretty much escapes from the scene. Kind of escapes. There's, like, some assailants that follow them, but Dragon, being Dragon, pretty much destroys everything and everybody. So things pretty much go smooth. But all the while, there's, like, another party of people in the movie named this young guy who's, like, a young gambler who's, like, but a really broke mid-gambler. His name is Knife. And then there's his girlfriend, Jane. And then there's, like, his other friends. And they all live in, like, this shack with their aunt or his aunt. I don't know whose aunt specifically, but somebody's aunt. But they play. Knife ends up, like, losing a lot of money and gets banned from, like, this particular, like, gambling den, right? And they want to make it big in life. And then one day out with Jane, they piss off, like, this rich Indian guy.
Yeah.
And to get him back, they set up like this little like trap hole like in the route that he takes every night. And so catching up, Ko is like there and then meets the Indian guy. There's like some racist stuff in this movie, all right? Like that scene was definitely like a little sketch.
Go back to India.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know. It was like weird, right? Because he was playing it off as like a joke, but then like wholehearted at the same time. And I was like, all right, yeah, it's not okay. But moving on. He basically falls into the trap in place of the Indian guy, and he knocks his head on a rock, and he gets concussions from it. And Knife and Jane and everybody decide to bring him back instead of bringing him to police because obviously they were at fault there. And pretty much Ko like reverts back to like this childlike personality, and he forgets like his memories and basically who he was. And like I said, he kind of becomes this kid, and they nickname him Chocolate because he has this very obsession with like a particular like chocolate brand. So they call him that, and they like basically house him for a while, and pretty much Knife schemes to. They find out that like he has a bunch of cash in his like on him at the time, so they're gonna use the cash to basically like plan a scheme back at the gambling den to basically just like come out positive again. And so while they were doing that in that scene, they basically find out that Chocolate is like actually pretty good at gambling. Like he's actually like pretty swift and skilled at playing, just like inherently, essentially.
Yeah.
So basically, he's like has an epiphany, and he's like, "We're gonna get rich," and tries to use like get rich quick scheme. Basically, just like hit every gambling den in like every town, and just clean up all the tables. So that's pretty much what they do, and they get like temporarily rich, right? And then that is up until like Knife borrows money from Singh, like 80 grand or something, and then they go to play a game, and basically like Ko is not having it, right, because of Chocolate apparently, and he loses all the money in one game, and then they kind of have a squabble between him and Knife, but eventually they make up, so it's whatever. But basically, like
he was trying to leave him.
Yeah, he was gonna abandon him in the streets.
Yeah.
Like a bad parent, you know? A really bad parent. But he comes back for him, and they kind of regroup with Jane and everybody, and basically they're like, we're gonna sell everything that we have, and we're gonna squat in our friend's like love hotel.
And then he also tries to get like the surgery done for Ko.
Oh, that's right.
To get his memory back. Or whatever.
But
that never happens.
That never happens. Forgot about that bit. That says a lot. But they don't have the money for it either. Like
well, they did. They were going to use the money that they had left over to give him the surgery, but then what's his name? Knife gets caught by Singh, remember?
Right. Oh, so that's when everybody catches
in the hospital.
Up. Oh.
And then he gets taken hostage and tells Jane to bring the money.
Oh, that's right.
Right, remember?
Okay.
And then it's like it's either the surgery or bringing, Knife back, and then they go to Singh, try to give him the money, and then
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about that. And then he like pulls out the card tricks, and then they basically like make a bet there, kind of, and then they stab Singh in the leg, afterward. That was kind of funny. But then what happens directly after that? Is that when they, like, somewhere along the line, Dragon catches up to them in the hotel, right? And then
and then they're trying to kill him. Remember?
Dragon?
Well, what's his name? He figures out like that
he's alive.
That Ko is alive, and then he kills Janet by accident at the villa, and then he's trying to figure out where Ko is, and then trying to kill him. Gotcha. And then that whole like firefight in the mall or whatever.
So he sends hitmen at him. Yeah. And then Dragon like is like
helps him.
Oh, I found you, and then he
because Ko calls him by accident because there was a little like his card was in his like
little pocket.
Pocket or whatever. So he calls him, and then Dragon shows up, and he basically saves Ko and the company.
In gang. Yeah, and then that
And while he's running back out, he bumps his head. Ko bumps his
Again.
head. He trips, and then he bumps his head like 50 times.
yeah, it takes a couple hits to
Yeah.
be like, get it back,
Yeah.
get the memory back,
And then he goes to the hospital.
and then he
And-
becomes the god of gambler again.
Well, yeah, and then he like pretends that he's like he's
legit.
still-
Yeah, he's like,
still buddy.
"You're
buddy."
back.
Yeah,
my cousin,
yeah.
I've missed you.
And then
And the Knife is like basically tries to tell the truth because Knife knows everything basically,
Yeah.
like because that Yeez was basically after him.
he was about to kill Ko, in the parking lot,
Yeah.
but then basically Knife saves him,
hmm
and then later on, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So Knife tries to basically kind of explain everything to him, but Ko, like he regains his memory at the hospital and he, goes back with everybody, but he kind of acts like he doesn't remember the more recent times with like Knife and everybody, so he doesn't know who like Knife is, and so he basically like ignores him and like his cries for help essentially, and pretty much yeah. So Ko goes back with Yi and Dragon, and then Yi like makes up a fake story about like that his girlfriend, that Janet killed herself, right? And then pretty much he goes back to finish what he was gonna start, which was challenging Cham, and then they basically play in like this yacht, right?
Yeah,
Which Knife also sneaks onto to kind of still try to help him, and up to no avail. And Knife is like, or Ko is like, I know you want to like talk to me, but can we do it after the game, basically? And he's like, that's no choice. So then so they finally go back to sit down at the table to play, and like we said before that, Yi and Kam kind of like have an agreement, and they'll have like this scheme to outplay Ko by like using this secret ink with like secret like glasses from America that you can only see the ink with when they do the inspection of the cards, etc., etc. So they think that they're gonna outplay him. So come to the game, they end up losing because Ko, being one step ahead of him, has like the same technology but from Germany or whatever.
more later version.
Yeah,
latest version.
2.0.
And also he marked it differently, like the cards.
Yeah, he mismarked like 2 dots, which was supposed to be like a king.
An ace.
Wait,
Oh, it's supposed to be a king, but
he had
made
the
it an
ace. Yeah.
He made the 2 dots an ace.
So basically he like tricks him up after like confirming that he was using special glasses or whatever. And so he like schemes that, and then he basically gets everybody there arrested for pretty much what they did. And then the movie basically like wraps up with Ko actually having remembered everything, including who Knife was, kind of did everything to like protect him and finish his job essentially. And then it's like happy ever after. He goes back and meets them in their house, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, buddy, yeah."
They love to end movies with like it's like a shot, and then they just freeze frame the shot,
Yeah.
and then they end it like
It's
that.
like-
They love to do that in like the late like Hong Kong movies.
Yeah. And then like as the credits go by, it's like either outtakes or like
yeah.
frames or like little sequences from throughout
Yeah.
the movie. They should have done outtakes. I like outtakes better.
Yeah.
All that stuff, but
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the action scenes in the movie. They're pretty fun. Like when Dragon's like going down the escalator.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
and he does
he's,
like
like,
a
trying to-
triple backflip.
Yeah, he's trying to save the little baby on the
They had to give him some kind of humanity, you know?
Yeah, I like that juxtaposition. Like he's
Uh-huh.
like this like cold-blooded killer dude.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, a baby. Let me help him out.
And then at the end, he's like, "Can you smile for me?"
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's like, "No, I look ugly when I smile." Smiles anyway. Why did they call him Dragon when like the tattoo on his hand was a scorpion?
Yeah. A lot of the like the nationality stuff was kind of weird in this movie.
Yeah.
Like they kept asking him like, "Are you Vietnamese?" or like, "Are you?"
no. Like,
I'm
whoa.
Chinese. I'm from Hong Kong or whatever. It's
and
like,
the Indian guy, he tried to speak Hindi towards him.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You don't understand me." He's like, "I grew up in Hong Kong." Like,
Yeah.
bro. I was like, what?
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff.
It definitely I think it's just one of those things that like today it doesn't fly. Like, you know, it didn't age well at all.
I know, it's kind of funny.
It's-
It's just kind of weird though.
yeah. You gotta love the 80s though.
Mm.
Yeah, it's cool aesthetics. Like everything really works. It's a fun movie. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I think at times it like overstays its welcome a little bit. Like I was like, man, you could just done this in 90 minutes. Like why does it have to be?
Yeah, I agree.
hours?
I do think that it was kind of long, and I think a lot of the threads, it was kind of messy. Like it wasn't very tight, I think, in terms of its writing
Right.
and like the scenes that there were, and like it just kind of feels like it's everywhere.
Right.
Especially like the Ko E part, like when E shows up later on, and
Yeah.
and like trying to weave that in with like the girlfriend, like
Yeah.
all of a sudden like he's jealous of well, I kind of had that, but like
Mhm.
all of a sudden he's like trying to like rape Janet and stuff, and
Yeah.
all that happens, and then like just everything that just like kind of piles on there, and all the stuff that happens with like Knife and Ko Chun, like, well, chocolate, while he's chocolate. And I felt like it was a little bit long, like especially like
Yeah.
the part where like I kind of thought him trying to abandon chocolate and everything, that kind of felt a little unnecessary.
Sure.
It just kind of felt like it was like just we need another like climactic
Like
moment,
a little
so
dramatic
that
moment.
like they kind of like put that in there. But
I mean, it
felt
didn't
like,
really like stick the landing. Either.
right, like it didn't really feel as genuine. Like it just kind of felt like, oh, like you knew he was gonna go back. Like there wasn't really like a big
Yeah.
enough conflict thing to make me feel like he
Oh, he's really gonna
deserved
leave.
abandonment.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like he didn't really like.
You're like, you're the asshole from the start.
Yeah,
so,
like you're the one that's like, yeah, I don't know, like all of that stuff. Kind of, it just everything kind of felt a little like draggy, a little long.
Right. Like they're doing it for like plot sake or just like we got to hit this point
Yeah.
sake kind of deal. Yeah. I think my problem too is like the villains where like characters that I didn't even notice or that seemed like not big of a role ended up turning into bad guys and were kind of a big deal. So like originally really like I didn't expect the way that the movie turned actually. Like I didn't expect it to be like I went in thinking that we have like Ko, the god of gamblers, and it's like him gonna be doing his thing, you know?
Yeah.
But then it turned into like
This,
a whole other movie of
this,
like
comedic slapstick thing that happens.
we gotta babysit this.
Yeah,
this
babysit the guy and all of that.
It turned into that thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is."
I'm like,
director
dude, how did he survive that hit on the
rock?
head with the rock?
That was hard.
And like, yeah, like even the trap thing kind of felt a little too coincidental. You know, like he just happened to like stroll by around that area after running, escaping, and then he like is about to lean on the thing, and then he just like falls and stuff. It was kind of like, huh? Like that's a really like mean prank.
Right.
even like to attempt.
So you're like, so this is the result you wanted for the Indian guy.
Dude's
If
trying.
that
Yeah,
would've
you're
happened.
about to kill the dude.
You're straight up
basically.
gonna like murder him, and then just continue roll his body into the river. After
Yeah,
that.
and I understand like they were trying to just be funny with all the like the hits to the head after. Like remember when they're like trying to bring him into the house?
Yeah,
He hits him in the door and all that. And I'm just like,
Ooh.
like I understand it's to be funny, but like, damn, dude, the dude's gonna die, man. He literally rolled like
Yeah.
down a hill, hit his head on a rock, and you like hit his head like 4 more times.
The guy was like bleeding
Yeah.
severely.
But I mean, like I understand it's all like for the joke, but
Right.
but even then, I'm like, damn.
It's Hong Kong jokes, man.
I know.
They take their stunts seriously.
I know.
Yeah. Fall. There's that one stunt that's like in the shootout, like before the escalator, when the guy gets shot and he like falls off like almost 2 stories or something onto the table. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And like, I was like thinking like that looks kind of a fall, like a really long
Like
fall.
it hurts, yeah.
And like he just straight up like
Took it.
took it and landed on there.
I know.
That and like a knife falling from like the scaffolding.
Yeah.
Like there was a shot when like he was straight up falling.
There were a lot of the kind of moments like that.
Yeah.
One funny thing that I noticed was the moment when E pushes Janet off the villa, right?
Mm.
There's a balcony there on on the villa.
Yeah.
And then like there's the she like goes through the glass, right?
Yep.
But in order for her to go over down, there's another balcony area. So you have to literally fly, go past the railing of the balcony, and then go down on the ground.
So you gotta fall over the balcony,
Yeah,
and then fly across a few feet.
They made it look like
clear.
They made it look like there was no balcony when they're going through the glass,
Right?
And then she just straight falls. But
fall
when you
down.
look at the other shot, there is a balcony there. So you're like, But I mean, it's a fast cut, so you probably won't notice it. But I just noticed. I'm like, huh.
How do we make this fall look like it makes sense?
Yeah, because she literally just falls like that straight down. It makes it look like there's no balcony, and she just straight falls.
Yeah.
But then there's this one shot where it's from the outside, kind of almost looking in. You can see the balcony edges, and you're like, oh,
wait a minute.
that's a pretty hard push, like a really hard push. She just go flying.
She had to clear that with going through the glass.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
There's a lot of moments where people just go through glass.
Yeah.
When Knife is running, and then the dude opens the door, and then he just goes through the door straight through the glass. You remember that?
I'm trying to remember.
There's he's running from. I think he's running from all the shooters.
Oh.
With chocolate. Dude, there's just so many.
There's when Chocolate runs out and he gets he hits his head 4 times. He literally gets ran over by the car, and it's not even played off. It's deliberate. He slams his head into the windshield. Yeah. It's all fun.
Yeah.
It's all fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't even expect Janet's death either. That threw me off guard. I didn't know that was gonna happen. Again, I was watching it, and it's E and her, and Janet's I've been looking for him for 10 days, blah, 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 blah. And she's recording through the recorder, right? And then he's confesses his long attraction to her. And then it turns into I thought it was just going to be I always liked you. And then, he tries to go after her, and then she escapes, or I don't know. He kidnaps her or something. But then it took a dark turn. He was straight up murder her. I had to make a double take towards my
And
TV.
then the tape thing where he takes out the tape and tries to burn it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't burn.
And
it's dude, you should at least made sure it burned.
Yeah, that's literally all your evidence, my guy.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, I didn't expect her to die, but that's what I was oh, he's a villain? ? That was kind of surprising. It's because they don't get a lot of screen time up until they kind of matter, I think is the problem.
Yeah.
Where in the beginning it's Tanaka asks for the favor, and there's okay, there's you understand the mission, and then there's a little side route that with Ko that puts him in a situation, but he's playing against Shin. Is that what it was?
Sing.
Yeah, but he plays against Sing, so it's he's a bad guy, and he comes up a lot, so he's pretty consistent. But it's once he comes by, it's oh, that's a bad guy, and then there's I don't know. There's, I said, there's a lot of parties because there's E's henchman, and then there's the other guy's henchman, and it just kind of gets a little convoluted.
I think I agree with your point where it kind of feels like there's one movie that starts in the beginning and then at the end, and then there's another movie in the middle.
Yeah,
where it's just it just feels like the connection between those two parts is not very smooth, it's kind of that's why it kind of feels like it's not really working too well.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of making it feel like everything's coherent.
Yeah,
because there's so much going on with Jane, Knife, and Chocolate and his friend in the middle, but there's never moments where we kind of go back to his old life or the people that's happening,
right?
Except that that Janet and E part, right?
Yeah.
and then it kind of like starts to try to like bring that thing back
Mhm.
with the fight in the mall or whatever. But then you never really like have that through line within the whole like arc of like Knife figuring out that Ko is actually a gambler, and then like
Yeah.
there's never like a moment where like
This is your true identity.
right, like there's never like a like going back and forth there with his old life and his new life, so that
Yeah.
when we go back to it at near the end, you're kind of like, oh, like this is like a little abrupt, like it's a
Right,
little too
right.
abrupt, and everything's just set up really like conveniently. Like he just is like, oh yeah, let me set up
Yeah.
a gambling session with you and Ko so that you can steal the money from him, and like it just kind of doesn't have the smooth like natural, or making it feel like it's a natural like progression to the end.
Yeah.
It kind of feels forced, and like literally Knife is put to the like sidelines at the end,
Yeah.
and you're just like, okay, like he kind of felt like a very pivotal character throughout the whole middle section of the movie,
Right. Yeah.
and then at the end of the movie,
Like we've
he
created
literally-
this bond together.
yeah, he
and
doesn't
then-
do anything at the end. He just kind of sits there. He literally sits there and watches, and that also doesn't really feel that great.
Right.
Because we've been with him for so long that you kind of expect him to kind of show up, like
Yeah.
in terms of like actually doing something. Whereas Ko, like it's great that we see him being himself again,
Mhm.
but like it also feels very abrupt in one sense.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Like I think the Ko part, him being himself is kind of okay, but
Mhm.
yeah, like I think Knife and like Jane's completely not there, his friend's not there, like that's completely gone at the end as well. So
Yeah,
it just
Yeah. It literally like once Ko comes back, we just pick up from like that part of his like that movie, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, it's like we are watching almost two completely different movies.
yeah
And like once Ko is chocolate, like we're watching the buddy comedy, like
Yeah.
almost like Rain Man
Yeah.
movie, right? And then once chocolate becomes Ko again, now we're watching like the hustle.
and
Gambling
now we're watching like almost like he's like James Bondish.
Yeah,
like, he's
exactly.
like trying
Yeah.
to like figure out how to beat the big bad dude, right?
Right. Like I've got the score to settle,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But it's like the problem is that they don't synergize at all. Like they, like you said, Knife is literally put to the side, like ignored, and then just sits there and watches the final acts happen. They never blend. With
Like
one
it would have been cool if like Knife infiltrated the yacht.
another.
He was there, and there's this moment when, let's say, like it's cliche, but even if it's cliche, like Ko is about to get shot, and like Knife help, like
Yeah.
helps him not get shot or something like that. Even that would have been more like, oh, like there's an incorporation of Knife within the scene. Like
Right,
he.
yeah.
There's a reason, like there's a point for him to be there,
Mhm.
and it kind of feels more satisfying rather than him literally just standing there or like sitting there and like looking at like
I'm helpless.
around
Yeah.
and being helpless. Yeah.
I go, that's the wrong move, and he's like, no, shush,
Don't talk.
shush, let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Insignificant human.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, even like, I think what'll work nice is like if there was kind of like a blend. Like the problem is like Ko like has the answers to everything once he becomes himself again, and like there is no room for a Knife. But if we get to like the final scene and he's got to face off against this guy, and like Ko is in a pinch again, and like he needs like Knife is able to contribute something that helps him,
Right.
with that certain dilemma, like just taking advantage of.
Or if it would have been nice if they had some kind of setup within the middle of the movie where maybe there's some kind of like secret like sign that they like make up together
Right.
within the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
And that, let's say, for example, comes into play at the end
Right.
where like, let's say like Ko is in a pickle and he like needs to like have something done, and then
Right.
he uses a sign and like he like knife
is
catches
like,
on.
got you, bro.
And yeah, like something like that would have been like cool in terms of like having that payoff at the end. Like,
Right, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
they've been through this together and they're getting, they're close to each other now, and
Yeah.
now they're able to
They
that
have this
bond.
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have this bond that kind of allows them to resolve this conflict at the end together.
Right.
That would have been nice. Another thing is like Janet says, like, I've been searching for Ko for 10 days, but there's nothing that
That supports
she's
that?
literally just sitting there in the villa, just chilling, and like it would have been nice if like let's say like Ko and company are like
Right.
walking. There's like a lot scenes like they're like walking in the streets or whatever, and we kind of see like Janet like pass by or something,
Yeah.
or not even Janet, like if like Dragon,
Yeah.
or
yeah.
like somebody like even E or whatever,
Yeah.
like kind of like was searching for Ko and like
Right,
happened to like pass by, but they like just miss each other. Like things like that, like incorporating the past to kind of like pull in
Right, yeah.
into that middle part of the movie would have, I think, really made like it so much more feel like a part of the whole
Right. Because you have to like, you have to know that both things are going on.
at
like
the same time.
You
yeah.
can't forget about this aspect and then just move. That's what this movie does. It's like,
Yeah.
we had this part, now we move to here, and we just completely forget about the other parts
Yeah.
of the life until like it happens to come together at the end. But it's like, you got to do it like seamlessly, and like you got to keep it in our minds that like, oh yeah, there are people that actually care about this guy
Yeah.
outside of this new family that he picked up,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I think that's the big, if I would say like an issue
Right.
for the movie, personally, where it kind of loses its cohesiveness.
Right. I mean, it's whatever.
Hey, overall, though, I did enjoy the movie. I liked the different things that happened in the movie.
Mm.
I liked the comedic bits of the movie,
Yeah.
except for like the head stuff, the head trauma stuff. It was a little bit too much for me. I'm like,
Take too
dude.
far.
But I did enjoy it overall.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the story overall. I liked the characters. I think that Chow Yun-fat is really good in his role. Like even playing Chocolate,
Yeah.
I think he's really good at managing the two different roles, and I think that he played it really well.
Yeah.
Like Knife is charismatic. I think he's like a cool character too.
The characters are really good. I have to say, there's a lot of like life into them,
Yeah.
and they're very kind of distinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, like the movie, in watching it, I did enjoy it. But I do think that there could be like different things that could have helped it, made it more better. But,
Yeah. Kind of made it a little more holistic.
Mm,
Really kind of tie everything together
Yeah.
by the end. Yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, I applaud it for like, I think surprising me at the end of the day. Like I said, I didn't really expect to get the movie that I saw
yeah.
versus like what I was anticipating when I was like the first 10 minutes of it. So it kind of kept me engaged, I didn't hold it for like too long. Like I said, it felt like could have done this in 90 minutes, but overall, like I said, the comedy bits are cool. Like it's got the classic like Hong Kong 80s action in there. Like, what it does right, it does pretty right at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Like I like the premise of the movie,
yeah.
like the basic premise of the movie
Mhm.
was cool. I think the gambling moments were done really well as well. I think, even from the get-go when we see Ko with Tanaka and they do their gambling bit, it's like it's like funny, but also like like they use like interesting ways of having Ko one up
Yeah.
Tanaka and stuff. So
It's very like spoofy. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a good time like laughing at the
right,
movie. Like,
right. It's not like Tacha where it's like a lot more serious and almost pretty
Right.
It's pretty grounded.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is like obviously it's like it's a joke. It's a joke, but
I'll tell you what happened. In Tacha, I was like, like, when they did it. Here, I'm like,
yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
Like breaking the 6 dice, like,
Yeah,
wow,
it's ridiculous, but it's still like
yeah.
it's still fun in its own way, I think.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy that for the gambling
Mhm.
in this movie as well.
at the last scene when he's like, starting. He literally like spoils the trick mid game. And he's like, oh, I see. He has special glasses there. And meantime, like they're in the middle of the game, and he like hides the card under the back of the card.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, oh shit, oh shit, and everybody's like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? It's good times. It's good times. Yeah. Overall, it's a fun watch. I don't think it shouldn't be watched.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good movie to watch. It's a fun movie. It's a little bit long, but it's fun.
It's good. That'll leave us for I think next week, right? What do we have? We did God of Gamblers. Now we're moving on to for next week. We'll watch Kaiji, the Ultimate Gambler.
Another ultimate gambler.
Another ultimate.
Who's the best gambler of them all?
Is there a movie where we watch a terrible gambler where like they're just trash?
They lose everything.
They lose everything.
It's a story about how they lose everything.
Yeah, it's a turmoil movie.
It's a story about a warning for people to not gamble.
Yeah.
Don't gamble or else you're gonna be on the streets homeless.
It's like one of those cigarette commercials.
Yeah.
Where it's like they start off on top and they're like, and then by the end they're like, yeah.
Your lungs are black and
Yeah.
disgusting and
don't smoke or you end up like me.
yeah.
But no,
It does feel a lot like a lot of these movies kind of glorify the gambling aspect of like winning big and
being like
and making it
excellent
out.
at it.
Yeah.
They're making it look easy.
Mm.
Like, nah, you can definitely take $10 and turn it into
I mean, I guess at least in Tacha, they kind of have that moment of like, oh, like you can kind of like lose everything and and stuff like that. And this one though, it's like it's legit like, hey, let's go back to Las Vegas now.
They're gonna win.
We're gonna win again.
Yeah. I like that in Tacha. Like the overall like message of the movie was like we're like the 1% kind of, but everybody else in this like they all lose it all.
Yeah,
like,
they're
right?
losers.
Like,
You're not winning.
yeah, they're like we're the winners. And everybody else is like in mad
and
debt
like there's like big consequences to like what happens, right?
Yeah, and even they know it. They're like, we're doing this even though like we know we can lose it all.
Yeah, like you can lose your hand, but you can also like lose your family. You know, you can lose your life. You know?
Everything is on the line.
Whereas in this movie, it's a lot more comedic and kind of joyous overall.
They literally like stumble upon a miracle, or just like money. They're like, this guy is gonna get us rich.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a completely different kind of movie, though. You know?
Yeah. 100%.
Even though it's the same kind of gambling genre.
But, anywho, Kaiji, the Ultimate Gambler, from 2009, directed by Tavo Sato.
This is a Japanese movie, right?
I believe so. Yes. How did we stumble upon this? I don't remember picking this one. Really.
You picked it.
Did I really?
I picked
it blindly.
1 and 2.
Oh, you picked these two.
Yeah.
Tacha and God of Gamblers.
Yeah.
So now we're in my territory. I'm thinking it's you because it's 2009, you know. So
89 though.
It's
this one was 89.
This one was 89.
And then Tacha was like 02.
Oh yeah, right?
So.
No.
03?
07.
Oh, 07. Okay.
What are you talking? 02.
One of the movies we watched recently was like an 02 movie.
I mean, the classic was 03, but anyway. I'm like trying to remember what this is. So it's based off of a manga. So Kaiji, also known as Kaiji the Ultimate Gambler, 2009. Based on Gambling Apocalypse. I think that's what the manga is called. This is the first in a trilogy. So that's another thing. Why do all these movies have like so, is gambling just like a sequel thing? Like
maybe it just works.
It just works.
I guess so.
You have a cool like thriller kind of like thing, and then you know what it is too though. Like I think it's easy to make iconic characters with movies like this, like because they're always like charming or like smug. You know, they carry weight to them. Yeah. These characters carry like a good thread for like multiple.
They're
projects.
like charismatic.
Right. Yeah. Like you kind of have to I guess, have that with that kind of movie in a way. And they're also like easy world building. Like it's a very like the gambling world, right? It's this whole like smug, the underworld. Yeah. It's an easy world and easy kind of characters. So okay. I answered my question. There you go. But that'll be next week. Before we end, a quick shout out to our Patreon page. If you want to see Kaiji early, go ahead and subscribe, and you can see it on a Monday versus Friday when they drop, as well as some bonus episodes, which we should be brewing for the month of June.
Yeah.
So take a look out for that.
Also, if you're on YouTube, let us know what your favorite gambling movie is.
Yes. And if you enjoyed this one, if you've seen it, and what did you think of it as well? Was it good? Was it mid? Did you also think it was kind of too long? Did you think it was perfect? We're not judging. But definitely low in the comments below. Other than that, see you next week. Peace.
Bye.